Hey guys, I thought I might invite you to get ready with me from a domestic violence shelter. Now, I want to start with a couple disclaimers. The first one being that if you ever find my tone to be a little too lighthearted for the subject matter, please keep in mind that comedic relief is some of the best medicine that a survivor can have. And don't we deserve it? And the second is that although I try to be as transparent as I can on the internet at this time, I'm gonna have to be really careful about the personal information that I share about myself and my experience, just for ongoing safety reasons and because I have gone through pretty great lengths to protect myself. So for now, I hope you guys can be satisfied with what I have to offer and my goal, which is truly to bring awareness to domestic violence, to bring awareness to the different aspects of it that most of us might not even recognize, probably don't. I think that a lot of survivors are missing out on some really crucial resources because they're not talked about enough and they're not brought to everybody's attention enough. Another thing that makes me want to talk about this right now is that something that I always took issue with when I was in evangelical Christianity was that people's testimonies of, coming through something usually didn't come until a long time after the crisis had passed. And I would be in crisis so often, I would be thinking, come on guys, can somebody talk about like the process in the middle of the crisis? What does that look like? How do we survive that? And I truly want victims of domestic violence to know that there is help and health and hope on the other side of escaping your abuser, even just right when it happens. So without oversharing information about my particular shelter, I just want to talk about, what I would have thought about a domestic violence or a homeless shelter before I found myself in need of one. I know that they're all going to be so different and there's all these different issues. Availability is obviously an issue depending on where you live, but just as an encouragement, I want to say that my experience has been nothing like I ever would have imagined a homeless shelter or a domestic violence shelter to be. I just had no exposure to it and didn't really know what to expect. There are advocates here at this shelter 24/7, which is pretty amazing because there have been some nights where I've literally stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning just weeping with them, just processing, crying, yelling even. Several of them have, personal firsthand experience with domestic violence. So they come, they're able to speak to us from the place of a survivor, from an advocate. They understand, and it's so incredibly validating. I've actually been going to domestic violence group therapy at a resource that serves victims and survivors of domestic violence. I've been going there for a year, and one of the most impactful lessons or therapy sessions that we had was actually based on a list called Why Did I Stay? So this is a list after speaking to, surveying and studying thousands and thousands and thousands of women who stayed in abusive relationships for any amount of time, and asking them, what were some of the things that kept you in that abusive relationship? And I'm actually going to post that one day as educational material here. It was so helpful for me, to go through and kind of check off the list. And one of them, the main reasons, understandably, that a lot of victims don't leave is because they have literally nowhere to go. Often there are children involved, which makes the housing situation even more difficult. Often there could be financial control, where the abuser controlled the bulk of the finances, and so the victim doesn't even have the financial ability to separate from this person. And those are really real and valid and terrifying realities that victims face every single day. Where do I go? What do I do next? And I can pretty confidently say that what actually might happen is that if you stay, you might never get the chance to figure out where you could go where you could be, where life could lead you to those greater things. I wrote a song recently and I said, yeah, I don't own a thing, but nothing owns me. And I'm fine with that. And that's the stage that I'm at right now. I'm at the stage of going, I have my life. I have my life and I'm free. And that's what keeps me going in the middle of the storm. I'm coming to you guys from the middle of it, saying that's where the joy comes from, freedom. The fact that I'm free enough to dye my eyebrows and dye my hair and make social media videos from the bathroom of my homeless, domestic violence shelter. It's enough for me because I'm alive, I'm breathing. And there are so many of you out there who are barely alive and barely breathing. And I can truly say from the bottom of my heart that is no way to live. It's not our portion in this life. It's not how you are meant to live either, if you are someone who's watching this and anything that I'm saying is resonating with you. How often is there something that we really think is the end of the world? It really feels like it's the end of the world. And it's not that it's not serious or it's not weighty or it's not important, but it really feels like this is it. And then later on, it turns out to be not the end, but the beginning of new life. I may be in the middle of the storm, but at least this time, I know I'm not circling back around for next storm season. I am on my way to brighter and better days than I ever imagined possible. And it's because of this shelter. It's because of these resources. It's because of the videos that I watched when I unfortunately realized that I needed to learn more about what was going on in my life and these topics came up. This is why I'm able to stand here and smile and make this video right now. Because other brave people spoke up and told their stories after years, sometimes decades of being silenced. They came forward and they said, no more. And because of their courage and because of their bravery, I got to get free. And that's why I'm here. That's my hope. When you have an experience in your life and then somebody puts words to it, almost like a diagnosis, it's like when somebody finally gets that diagnosis of being neurodivergent. And it's not that they're celebrating that they have the diagnosis, they're celebrating that it makes sense, that there was something in them that knew that there was something different and now they feel validated. That's how it feels when you start learning about abuse in the middle of experiencing it. You start learning about things like DARVO. Have any of you ever heard of DARVO? So DARVO is an acronym that stands for Deny, Attack, Reverse, Victim, and Offender. Deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. DARVO. An example of this might be you confront your partner about a suspicion that you have that they're cheating, for example. So you go to them and you say, hey, what's up with this message that I found in your phone? And then this person immediately denies everything. You didn't see anything, or what you saw, it wasn't what you think it was. I didn't do that. That wasn't me. Whatever you're accusing me of, denied. Then they're going to attack you. So they might say something like, oh my gosh, are you seriously so insecure that you have to go through my phone? I mean, if you felt better about yourself, then you wouldn't feel the need to do that. Then they're going to reverse the victim and offender, meaning that they are going to victimize themselves in the situation. They're going to say something like, no matter how hard I try, no matter what I do, it's just never enough for you. Your expectations are too high and you're invading my privacy. You're so controlling and you're the one who's harming me. DARVO is just one of far too many, unfortunately, terms that psychologists and different people who study people have come up with to label the patterns found in domestic violence situations. So what you might think is just jerk behavior, you could say it's immaturity. You could say, well, they're just not a very good partner. Sometimes we might need to look a little bit deeper to see if what's happening is actually more than jerk behavior. What if it's violence? What if it's abuse? What if it's a lot more than that? There are some of you watching this video right now who might be thinking, wait a minute, that sounds like my life, or you're just starting to get into this topic and thinking that it's just hitting a little bit too close to home. Maybe you have a friend or a family member and you're starting to see things that seem like red flags and you're not totally sure what to do, what to think, or what to say about the situation. I am here for you. And I'm putting myself out there for you because I really don't want anybody to have to suffer one more minute, one more hour, one more day longer than they have to if all it might take is me speaking out about domestic violence and bringing awareness and letting somebody feel seen and heard in the middle of their confusion and pain and exhaustion. If you see me smiling and posting and happy and having fun, just know that I really am. I'm not putting on a show for social media. I have truly come to this place of gratitude and thankfulness for my freedom and for my escape that, man, I can't stop smiling from the shelter. I can't stop smiling from the courthouse. I can't stop smiling from my car. On my car rides, just thankful that I'm alive and I'm breathing and I'm here and I'm not being silenced and I have a platform to tell my story and to help other people. And only 5 minutes before and or after that smiling photo, I could have definitely, probably, likely been in the pit of despair, just like weeping all of my makeup off and, cursing the sky and everything like that. And that is oftentimes where I find the most healing and the most peace, just having the freedom to express it all. Every emotion, every feeling, every thought without judgment. I'm gonna have to go figure out what I'm wearing before I can finish this look, but I wanna thank you guys for joining me, for listening to me. If you've listened this far, thank you for joining me on my journey at whatever part you find yourself in it. And I also just wanna thank you guys for the kind comments that I've gotten and for the messages of support that I've gotten. They far outweigh any kind of backlash and they're so worth it. It really is. And I just want to look you guys in your eyes one more time and say that you are not alone. You're not stuck. You're not helpless. You're not hopeless. And there is a way out. Talk to somebody. Get safe. And follow me and follow other content creators who have resources and educational materials, not just for you, but for your friends, your family members. This is something that affects everyone. Entire communities of people are affected by domestic violence and need to know how to navigate it. So thank you guys for your support. Thank you for following me. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of all of this.